Every year in college basketball, a new underdog story surfaces that the entire nation seems to rally around. Whether it be a small mid-major school exceeding all expectations and making a deep run in March, a slept-on player seemingly coming out of nowhere and breaking out into stardom, or in this case, both, these stories are always so easy to root for because of the circumstances. Regarding the player side of things, we've seen guys like Jimmer Fredette and Doug McDermott in the past play these roles and light up the college basketball game, but then as NBA players, they didn't quite live up to the hype. This year's underdog is Ja Morant from Murray State, who is obviously the topic of today's video as you all saw in the title of the video, and we'll be going over both how he got to this point and why I believe he's not only a legit pro prospect, but destined to become a future star. Before we start though, make sure to subscribe to the channel as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. Ja Morant's story begins in Dalzell, South Carolina, which is where he was born. He was born to T and Jamie Morant, and his father T in particular has been an incredibly valuable and supportive role model in his life. T actually played alongside Hall of Famer and one of the greatest shooters ever, Ray Allen, in high school, and had a professional basketball career of his own playing overseas. That didn't last very long though, because once his son Ja was born, he retired from the game and supported his family by becoming a barber in his hometown. As Ja got older, T made sure to teach him everything he knew about the game, and trained him in their backyard. Because Ja was always slightly undersized as a kid for his age, his dad put him through drills that made him work on his speed and creating separation on shots. He even signed Ja up for teams where he would play with older kids, which Ja honestly loved, because in his own words, he said, "I'm not worried about the big kids." Ja was never afraid of any moment, and he knew he could compete with anyone, even at a young age. When the time came, he went to high school at Crestwood High in Sumter, South Carolina. He came in as only a 5'9" freshman, but by the time he graduated, he had grown 6 inches to the height of 6'3" that he is now. Also, the school already had a connection to the Morant family because their head coach was actually the man that mentored and coached both his father and Ray Allen back in the day. With this connection and the relationship between the two already there, Ja was destined to do big things for them, and oh boy did he. In his 4 years of high school, he became the program's all-time leading scorer with 1,679 total points, and even managed to drop 56 points in one game. In his junior and senior seasons, he really started to become dominant, averaging 27 points, 8 assists, and 8 rebounds per game, earning him All-State honors both years. On top of all of that, he even won the region's MVP award 3 out of his 4 seasons. Yet, despite all of this high-level production and success, none of it ever really garnered much attention from the national sense in the recruiting scene. What did get him some recognition, albeit only a tiny sliver of it, was the AAU circuit and camps. It just so happened that, despite playing on a small regional AAU team, he happened to be teammates with none other than Zion Williamson during his sophomore year when Zion was a freshman. Zion may not have been the viral sensation that he would soon become yet, but the first time he started to make some noise nationally did happen alongside Morant. As a result, scouts that came to see Williamson by default also caught a glimpse of Morant. After that one season though, Zion moved on to the national Adidas circuit, leaving Morant behind on the regional team and just about closed off any attention he was getting from big-time scouts. He finished his high school career completely unranked on ESPN, 247 Sports, and Rivals recruiting databases. He continued to work though, and while at a small summer showcase camp, the then assistant coach of Murray State, James Kane, noticed him playing really well on a side court. He then asked why he was off to the side, and he was told that Morant was a late addition to the camp and almost didn't even get an invite, but Kane liked what he saw and lobbied for Morant to be moved onto the main court against better competition. They granted his wish, Morant continued to play really well, and Kane came away so impressed that he immediately called up the head coach and told him about the player that he just found. They continued to follow him around different recruiting circuits, called him on a consistent basis, and really showed how much they were interested in him as a player and a person. Now, keep in mind that while he may not have had many Division I offers, he did have a few bigger programs offer him, such as the University of South Carolina in the SEC. But once again, T gave his son some wise words of wisdom. He told him, every parent wants their child to play at a big-time program, but what I realized is, don't go where you want to be, go where they want you. Murray State was easily the school that showed the most interest in Ja, and they made it a priority to get to know him on both a basketball and a personal level, and at the end of the day, he felt most comfortable with them, so he followed his father's advice and committed to Murray State. In his first year at Murray State, he had a solid season, but not necessarily anything eye-popping or notable. He was only the third option on the team because he was playing alongside Jonathan Stark, who won the Conference Player of the Year that year, and Terrell Martin, who was a senior leader and very efficient scorer from the wing. Morant was more than grateful for his role as a freshman though, and learned a lot from those upperclassmen leaders. They also won their conference that year, but lost their first game in March Madness. All in all though, the experience Morant got as a freshman was vital to what he would soon become, and he went into the offseason with the mindset that he was ready to step up into a bigger role and become the man. How good he could truly be, though, was a bit of an unknown to many that watched him a good amount. According to rival head coach of Belmont Rick Byrd, Morant was just another guy as a freshman. According to former teammate Jonathan Stark, he knew Morant was good enough to get drafted in the NBA, but he also answered honestly by saying that he really didn't see him becoming a top 3 pick. However, Morant's ascension started before the season even began, as Byrd said in an interview that he heard rumors that Morant wasn't just a much improved player, but he was coming into this season as the clear-cut best player in the conference, and Morant sure as hell was just that. This brings us to the part that we all for the most part already know, being that he's been phenomenal all year long, putting up absurd numbers every single game, leading his Murray State team to a record of 28-5 too. On the year as a whole, he averaged 24.5 points, 10 assists, and 5.7 rebounds per game, ranking 8th in the country in scoring. Also, he led his team to win the conference and earn an automatic bid to March Madness. Now, all of this is great, but the competition was admittedly weaker, so the thing everyone wanted to know was how he would fare against some better teams, and boy did he answer the bell. Their first matchup in the tournament was against 5th seed Marquette, who were led by Marcus Howard, who averaged 25 points per game on the year and was able to catch fire at a moment's notice. This would be Morant's biggest test to date, and he came out and showed maturity and poise on the biggest stage. Marquette really did everything in their power to shut him down scoring-wise, but he still scored 17 points on 9 shot attempts, and what was most impressive was that he dished out 16 assists and recorded a triple-double, showing he could still impact the game and create offense for others, even though his own scoring was shut down. They won that game, but unfortunately they lost in the next round despite Morant putting up 28 points. So that brings us up to date on Morant and his career, and he will more than likely declare for the draft soon. So now let's dive into what kind of player he is and why I believe he will be a legitimate star in the league. Once again, I know the title of the video is still on your mind, and yes, I do see Ja Morant's NBA comparison as Russell Westbrook to some degree. First of all, Westbrook, like Morant, was not heavily recruited at all, and only got a scholarship to UCLA because a player that they weren't expecting to leave for the draft declared, freeing up a spot for him. Westbrook also stayed 2 years in college, going from a more reserved role as a freshman to a more premier role as a sophomore. Westbrook, however, was never a truly dominant college player like Ja is, which is a point in Morant's favor, but he obviously has a ways to go to catch up to Westbrook in terms of how good he currently is. Westbrook is one of the strongest guards in the league, and Morant is still a bit skinny, but once again, this is something that Westbrook has added over time from his college days, and Morant has shown that he's been willing and able to add strength, having added 20 pounds of muscle to his frame between his freshman and sophomore seasons. Most importantly though, their play on the court is also incredibly similar. Morant, like Westbrook, is truly relentless in attacking the basket, and is an absolutely skilled finisher with either hand when he gets there. Next, his athleticism, speed, and bounce are also top tier, and he's next to unstoppable in transition. If you don't contest him strong at the rim, he will not hesitate to punch one on the defender's head, having put multiple dudes on posters this year. On top of that, his court vision and passing ability is also top-notch, having averaged double-digit assists in college, playing alongside mid-major talent. When he gets to the league and starts to play alongside better teammates, I can see him continuing to improve in this regard, and eventually it wouldn't surprise me if he becomes someone whose name is consistently near the top of the assists leaderboards year in and year out like Westbrook is. One negative to his game though is that he does sometimes try to do too much and force passes that shouldn't be thrown, resulting in turnovers, but funnily enough, this has also been something that has plagued Westbrook, so in both the good and the bad, they share similarities. Overall, am I saying that Morant will definitely be as good or better than a guy that just averaged a triple-double for 3 straight seasons? No. What I am saying, though, is that Ja is a really damn good player that plays a similar game to Russell Westbrook, will be more than likely a multiple-time All-Star in his career, and will be a problem for years to come. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video. I put out new videos fairly regularly, so stay tuned for that, and on that note, I'll see you all next time.